HarperCollins presents The Banned Books of Berlin by Daisy Wood, read by Lizzie Schenk. For Amy May Baxter. Author's note. This novel is set partly in 1930s Germany, several years before the outbreak of the Second World War in 1939, as Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party were gaining power. A few months after Hitler was made Chancellor at the beginning of 1933, the Nazi Student Association proclaimed a nationwide action against the un-German spirit. The students drew up a list of so-called un-German authors, whose works were not only to be banned, but also thrown onto ceremonial bonfires across the country. On the evening of 10th of May, 1933, Nazi students marched in torchlit processions through most university cities, and more than 25,000 books were burned, while speeches were made about purifying German culture, and thousands of onlookers cheered. Hitler's propaganda minister, Joseph Goebbels, wrote in his diary the next day, "I gave a speech outside the Berlin Opera House, in front of the bonfire, while the filthy, trashy books were being burned by the students. I was at the top of my form. Huge crowds." I have tried to make the historical background of this story as accurate as I can, although the characters and smaller-scale events are mostly invented. Only one person who actually existed makes a brief appearance, Sir Horace Rumbold, the British ambassador to Germany from 1928 to 33. He was well aware of the dangers posed by Adolf Hitler, writing a report for the British government on his departure which ended with the words, "I have the impression that the persons directing the policy of the Hitler government are not normal." Hitler's appearance at the Kaiserhof Hotel, which I describe in the book, was also rooted in fact. I read about his visit in Blood and Banquets, the secret diary of Bella Fromm that was published in 1943. As far as I'm aware, no threat to Hitler's life was made on that occasion, although there was a possible plot to poison him on another occasion at the Kaiserhof. Several of his party were taken ill, but Hitler was the least affected, possibly because of his vegetarian diet. There were other assassination attempts in the years to come, some of which only narrowly failed. Steps to ban books have increased massively across the world in the past few years. The charity PEN America counted more than 10,000 book bans in public schools in the academic year 2023 to 2024. It seems extraordinary that, given what we know about the past, there are calls today for books not only to be banned, but also burned. In my opinion, this is not a road we should be going down. We've seen where it leads. Prologue, Oxfordshire, November 1946. She is standing at the window, looking out into the park. Tawny deer are grazing on the other side of the ditch, mist pooling around their hooves like soft grey smoke. Mating season is nearly over, and the stags only occasionally rear up to clash antlers, half-heartedly as though they can't really be bothered. Mid-afternoon, and the sky is already darkening. How many times have you seen that view on a dreary winter's day, misery clenching your body in its iron fist? She turns around as you walk towards her and gives you that old dazzling smile. "Hello, stranger. Been a while, hasn't it?" And she holds out her hand for you to shake. You exchange pleasantries about the weather and the journey you've taken to get here. By unspoken agreement, you're both talking in English. "Have a seat," she says, indicating a chair by the fire. "It must feel a little strange getting a taste of life on this side of the house. I'll ring for tea in a minute, and that will really give you the heebie-jeebies. I'm afraid things have gone sadly downhill since your day. Rationing, you know. It's worse than the war. If it wasn't for the chickens and the kitchen garden, we'd be sunk." "We heard things were tough over here," you say, perching on the edge of the chair. She's so thin. Not lithe and slender in the way she used to be, but shrunken, desiccated, as though she's being eaten up from the inside. Her eyes look bigger than ever, and her cheekbones stand out like razor shells. "Thank you for coming," she says. "I wasn't sure whether you would." "Of course I came," you reply. "How could I refuse you anything?" "We'll see about that," she says, and smiles again. The tea tray is delivered by a slatternly maid in wrinkled woolen stockings and no cap, and it's disappointing. Fish paste sandwiches and leaden grey crumpets with marrow jam that hasn't set. She pours the tea and passes you a cup. "So, how are you?" she asks. "You look well. Bonny even, which I'd never have guessed."
Sample complete. Ready to continue?